relationships, marriages. Now, these are sensitive topics. And if you're keen enough, all over the world, the statistics show that relationships are not doing so well all the time. And specifically, marriages are in danger. You always hear that the statistics of divorce world over are greatly increasing by the day. And so this is an important topic that we should delve into. And I have a relationship and marriage coach with us today. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host today. And at Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always we have great guests. Today we have a great guest known as Jeanell Greene. And she's going to be here to tell us how we can save our marriages because it's important. We value marriages. And so if it's possible for us to save them, why not do it? And if we have a coach who's been doing it for some time, using her own experiences, then that's very good. So why don't you join me as we go and meet Jeanell together? Please remember to share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question, please ask. If you have any comment for this episode or any of our episodes, then we love our feedback. We will appreciate you giving us feedback. Yes, and as I said, let me not take one more minute because Jeanell has a lot to come and tell us. So join me as we go together to meet Jeanell. Here we go. Hi, Jeanell.
Hi, Anthony. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing wonderful, thanks.
Yeah. Which part of the world are you?
I actually currently I'm sitting in Vancouver, Canada on the West Coast.
Okay. And
That's
how
right.
is the weather there? Is it hot, cold?
It is sort of in the middle. We're just leaving our summer now, going into fall, so the days are getting shorter and a little bit cooler, but still good. Still, I'm going out for a walk later with a client of mine, and the weather's still okay. Still dry, but it's going to get into the rainy season soon.
Good to hear that. So, do you have family?
I do. I have been married to my husband. I've been with my husband now, actually coming 17 years in a
Mm,
couple of weeks, and we're actually going to be going on vacation to celebrate. I don't have any children.
okay.
We have, God did not provide us with that blessing, and that's okay. I think I remember when I was young, I, um, I wasn't someone, I wasn't sort of a normal girl, when all the children were playing with Barbies and dolls. I was studying,
Hmm.
I was dancing, I was competing, I was doing my own thing, and I've always kind of done my own thing. And so, when my husband and I got together, we tried for children and it didn't happen, and we did all the testing and all the extra things, and we just said, "You know what? If it's meant for us, if God is meant to give us that blessing, then great. And if not, perhaps there is another creation that I'm meant to bring into this world." And so here we are, 10, 20 years later, I'm talking to you about marriage, and and I work every day to make the world a more loving and safe and peaceful place
That's
for us now and for the generations to come.
and I'm curious to know where would you be going for the anniversary? Any special place?
Yes, there is a special place. It's actually on Vancouver Island, which is not far from where we are, but it's a spa resort along the beach. And so they have sort of log cabins, and they have, massage and the beach, and it's just a very calming and beautiful nature inspired kind of place where we can spend time together and really be in nature is something that we both really love. So
Lucky
I'm
you.
excited.
Lucky you. You're
I'm
lucky.
excited. I am lucky. I'm very fortunate.
Yes. And now hearing you in the double digits of marriage, now that's something that is rare these days.
Yeah.
Someone gets to know a person, they get to have some time together, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then by the time that they hit 10, that's supposed to be a book. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Well, it's
congratulations on hitting 17 years.
thank you. Well, I think what's even more extraordinary than the number, because I think there's a lot of people that have been married as long as I have, plus, double digits or double of that amount. But
Mm,
how many can say that they are still madly in love, still in the honeymoon phase, still so passionately connected to their partner just as they were in day one? I think one of the biggest celebrations that my husband and I can really acknowledge is the fact that we are still at that high caliber of intimacy, and that curiosity and that excitement that you feel in the beginning of a relationship. We work really hard to keep that alive, to be interested, to continue to grow, to continue to heal our own insecurity as partners, and we continually create the future that we're living into as a team. And so we're always moving towards the same goals as a couple, but also as individuals, but we also support each other in the individual passions that we have. And so I think we have a really beautiful balance of togetherness and teamwork and intimacy, but also we have our own things that we're passionate about that are very different, and we allow each other to have our space to grow as individuals but also as a couple.
yeah, we could say that is the they lived happily ever after story.
Yeah, but I wasn't, this wasn't always the way it was going to go. Before I met my husband, I was actually married. So this is actually my second marriage.
Oh,
And
tell us about that.
yeah, and so that's kind of where my story starts is,
Mm-hmm.
I started to do the self-development, personal growth work while I was going through my divorce, because I
Mm,
realized there's something about me that has me keep getting into relationships that were not healthy.
mm,
I felt like I was a magnet for unavailable men who were
mhm,
not ready to commit. And so I saw a pattern in that. And so that's when I stopped and I really started to look at myself, to look at the parts of me that are energetically attracting this kind of people, but also looking at what is it that I need to heal within myself that I don't actually feel worthy of having a relationship that is of a high caliber. I think, a lot of us when we're growing up, we're told that we need to settle, that we should just, there's no such thing as perfection, so we just should tolerate or put up with or settle into a relationship. And so I felt like
mhm,
that's kind of what I did the first time. I said, well, my wish list my wish list was quite unreasonable, if you will say,
mhm,
maybe.
mhm,
Uh, and I thought that maybe I could never have that. And so
mm,
I kind of gave up on that dream. And when I started to do the work on myself, I got to the point where I said, no, you know what? I deserve to have someone who loves me just as much as I love them, who's going to
mhm,
help me grow as much as I'm going to help him grow. And so when I got to that point that I was clear about who I was and the love that I had for someone, then I can really attract the same kind of person. And then I met my husband a few months later after that. So as I was exiting one relationship, I was sort of being introduced to this whole new other relationship. And so it's been really easy, to be honest. If
Mm-hmm.
you ask my husband right now, how would you describe our marriage? The one word he would use is easy. And it's not that we don't work hard, but we work hard so that it is easy. We
Mm.
don't wait until the argument to clean up the mess. We make sure we talk about it before the mess even begins.
Hmm. Talk about it before the mess begins. That's a good
Yeah.
one. That's a good one. Let me at this point welcome everyone who's listening, who's here with us. And specifically, I want to thank Mishka for joining us. She says she's here listening. We thank you. And anybody else who's watching us, wherever it is that you are, if you can maybe leave us a comment, where is it that you are watching us from? We appreciate. So thank you, Mishka. We appreciate you listening, and we keep going. Now, I'm curious to know, how long was the first marriage that you were in?
I was with him for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I look back at it, what I really saw, and if anyone's listening to this who is either about to get married, um, but even just any couple, I think one of the things that we don't talk about when we're about to get married is the hard things. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to. We're in like la la land. We're in love. We're obsessed with each other. We're engaged, and we're in that brain fog of like euphoria, and life is perfect. However, I think it's really important for us to talk about what are the things that are the non-negotiables. How,
Mm-hmm.
where do you want to live? How many kids do you want? Do you want to live in a hot place or a dry place? What
Mm-hmm.
is your love language? I meet so many couples where someone says, for me, sex and touch and kissing is really important. And then their partner says, no, I am not interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or someone says, what I need is I need to hear I love you. I need to hear you're beautiful. And then the partner says, well, I don't do that. That's not I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel comfortable. And so we end up matching with people that are actually not compatible with us. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes maybe there's an unexpected pregnancy. Maybe there's pressure within the family to get married, which I think was part of my excuse.
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think we need to be very conscious when we're going into relationships that are of a marriage status. I
Mm-hmm.
think the other thing too is that our expectations change when
Yeah.
we're dating. We're courting, we're making effort, we're listening, we're being curious, we're being open. And then it's almost like as soon as we get married, there's like a switch that flips in our head. And all of a sudden it's like about me, give to me, me. What are you doing for me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting how that changes. And I would offer that the dating part is the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
The work really starts when we get married. It's like, okay, how do we keep it interesting? How do we continue to grow and not get into this vicious cycle of just kids, bills, work, sleep, eat, and then there's no joy, there's no laughter, there's no creation of the future. Why is it that our wedding day or the day we get proposed to the most memorable and exciting day?
Mm-hmm.
It's because we have a vision in our mind of a future that we are creating and that we want to live into. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
exciting for us, right? We imagine in our mind, growing old together, being retired and holding hands on the beach and all of these beautiful images. But we don't realize that it actually takes work to get
Mm-hmm.
to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we don't deal with reality,
Mm-hmm.
or we compare ourselves to others on social media, on TV. And so we try to change each other.
Mm.
right? We almost
Mhm.
take each other as a pet project. I need to fix you. I need to make you different. But
Yeah,
as most of us know, that never works.
it never works.
Nobody wants to be forced to change.
Yeah.
We should want to change for ourselves. And so, as the partner, if you're the partner who's saying, my husband or my wife needs to change, you are the one who's going to suffer the most.
Mm.
And so the goal, the lesson here is, how do I love myself enough and accept myself enough that I have enough love to give someone else. Therefore, I can love and accept someone else. We cannot do something, we cannot give some things to someone that we don't know for ourselves. If we
Mhm.
don't know forgiveness, if we don't know compassion for us, how are we going to give it to our partner? How are we going to
Wait,
give it to other people in our life? We can't.
you can't give something that you don't have.
That's right. And so this is
Yeah.
the work. And unfortunately, many of us were never brought up with these lessons. Our teachers are our parents. And if our parents either were not around or they were not great teachers, we grow up as adults, but emotionally we're not developed.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
we go into relationships with this hole in our heart that our parents left. And we look into the world to say, fill my hole for me. You need to
Mm.
make me happy. You need to make me feel like I'm worthy. But it's
Mm.
not the other person's job to make you feel worthy. It is your job to make yourself feel worthy.
Mm.
And when you feel worthy, now you know your values. When you know your values, now you can set boundaries. When you can set boundaries, you can say no in a really powerful and loving way that people will actually respect you.
Mhm.
And so this is what I teach my couples is really, it's an unlearning of old habits and old thoughts and old programming from our childhood that our parents put into us, and
Mhm.
then learning new habits and new skills and new tools to be able to function in a relationship with someone who is very different from us.
Hmm.
And
Now, we have a case here. This is from Mishka, and she says she married her first boyfriend in from college at 21, and then her and her daughter were left by the boyfriend, and it completely wrecked her. And then after he went for another woman, Mishka has never remarried ever since.
Mhm.
She thinks that she kind of shut down, and she says maybe she's a bad picker. And the question that she has is, why is she still single up now? Maybe you have an idea of how to go about this. What
Yeah.
maybe some questions to her. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, even just reading. So, one thing that gives us insight into someone's thinking is the words they use. And she used the words, I shut down and I'm a bad picker. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the story she tells herself, or sorry, Mishka, you're listening. That's the story you're telling yourself is like, I'm not good. There's fear. There's fear that's
Mm-hmm.
running the show. The fear of maybe getting into another relationship and feeling rejected once again. But here's the thing I want to tell people, and this is going to be hard to hear for some of you. Consider other people's behavior is not about you, it is about them. And I can see, of course, I can appreciate that. It's like, well, it was done to me, so therefore it was because of me. But consider it's not. Consider that it could have been somebody else and that might have still happened and you just happen to be the receiver. Now the thing you want to really look at is, what is it about me that has people that may have contributed to someone leaving or cheating on you? So here's the thing. I work with a lot of people around infidelity, and
Mm-hmm.
here's what I hear, or here's what I know. Not like it's the truth, but here's what I know. What I know is that we all want to feel loved, appreciated, and we want to feel a connection. And when we become parents, when life takes over, when bills and all the life stuff starts to happen, we forget the most important thing in our family is love. We make doing the dishes, we make, all these other things more important than making sure that we nurture each other's relationship.
Mm.
And then we wonder why this other person is texting on social media or talking to somebody else, or now they're watching porn, or maybe they're gambling, or they're starting to drink. These are all just symptoms. They're not actually the core issue of a relationship. Same thing with
Mm.
infidelity. Infidelity is not the core issue. It is a symptom of a deeper issue.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, in my experience, most of the time it's been men. I would say maybe 70% of the time, at least the ones that I deal with, are the men who have cheated. And but what they say to me every is the same every single time. They said, I'm lonely. I need love. I need touch. I need hugs. I need someone to tell me that I'm important. And I think
Mm.
sometimes we forget to appreciate our partner. We just take them for granted, and they go, "Well, why should I say thank you? That's their job. That's their, they're my husband. They have to take out the garbage, or they have to do this." But it is when we have expectations and we don't actually acknowledge the people for who they are, that we start to feel like we're just like a doer. Doer, you're just doing things. You're not actually being loved for who you are. And
Mm.
so, me and my husband, one of the things we do every single day is we say, you know what? You are awesome for no reason. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to clean anything. You can just stand there and you are amazing.
Mm.
And so that really lifts my husband's confidence up.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, now he's going to actually look for more things to do to make me happy, because
Wow.
he wants that appreciation. He wants that feedback. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to know that he matters, that he's worthy, that he's appreciated. It's such a small thing. And yet, if we just practice this every single day, our relationships will transform. And this is not just about marriage. This is anyone in our family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that there is not enough appreciation and gratitude in the world. We're always looking for what's wrong. What
Yeah.
didn't they do? Oh, that you made the bed, but you didn't do the bed right. You didn't, we're always nitpicking and trying to get perfection, and having people do the things that they do the way we want them to do it, rather than just acknowledge, like, hey, thanks for trying. Thanks for
Mm.
even just taking the time. I know you're busy today, and the fact that you made me coffee makes a big difference. So thank you. So
Yeah.
when
You.
we can really love each other, it's like that's where the magic and the joy and the intimacy happens.
You remind me of this case I once had of someone who was always complaining, never satisfied over anything that the wife did. And so this one day he tells the wife to make two eggs, one to boil it and the other one to fry it. And then they were found arguing. Yes, in front of him, he has two eggs, one fried, the other boiled. And then they are still arguing, he's making noise, and someone is curious to find out what's happening. I mean, I thought you asked for a fried egg and a boiled egg. And the husband says, she boiled the wrong one and fried the wrong
Mm,
one.
yeah. And so there are times that no matter what we do, our partner
Mhm.
is never happy.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're listening to this and you're the one who's never happy, consider that it is a reflection of you never being happy with yourself. That
Mm.
you're probably a perfectionist, you're probably a people pleaser, and because you're never good enough, you're going to look at other people and see them as not good enough. And that's why the work that we do for ourselves is so important. But of course, it's so easy, and I'm guilty of this too. It's so easy to look out in the world and go, the problem is out there. It's him, it's my boss, it's my body, it's my finances, it's my fill in the blank. And the power, guys, the power to really reverse this is to be responsible. And
Mm,
when I say the word responsible, most people hear fault, blame. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say responsible, I simply mean the ability to respond. But when we take it like it's not my fault, I didn't do it, there's an excuse or a justification, that is us resisting responsibility.
mm,
And so we have to really stop and say, we have to start with just saying, yep, you know what? I've done that. That is my bad. I shouldn't have said that. That's not who I am. And I take full responsibility for it. When we can be that vulnerable, that honest, and that humble, now we give the other person an opportunity to do the same, to come back and say, you know what, you're right, I also am responsible. So me and my husband, what's so great about us is we are overly responsible. Things that are even my fault, he's gonna take responsibility. Say, no, no, honey, that's not your, it's mine. No, 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 it's not. It's not you, it's me. So we're like the opposite.
mhm,
But it's again just so beautiful to be with someone who sees this as a true partnership. It's not him and me, it's us. Always
mm,
us.
mhm.
So whatever I'm dealing with, he's like right there. He's my rock. He is my, we are linked arms. We are best friends. And he's like, I got your back. And I feel that. I feel like he really does have my back.
That's beautiful. I love that. Now, Mishka has a special case. And she's using some interesting words. She says she's just like a dog with a bone. She doesn't want to let her ex-husband off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what
Yeah.
how could you describe this? What would you say of this?
Well, my first question is, Mishka, you got to get yourself off the hook. Before you can get him off the hook, you need to get yourself off the hook. Forgive yourself. I want you to sit down and write all the things that you need to forgive yourself for, as well as you need to forgive him for. Because you cannot go into this beautiful, amazing possibility called a beautiful relationship when you have heaviness and resentment inside your heart. It is an energy that you're going to put out in the world. I have a girlfriend of mine who's been wanting to get married, but she keeps saying to herself that men are losers. And then she wonders why she can't find a good man. It's because you keep saying men are losers. So start saying something really positive, that maybe the thought is the perfect man is out there for me. He's
Mm,
around the corner. I am worthy of love, and I'm going to find that man somehow, some way. And just to trust the universe, trust that if you believe in God, trust that God has your back. That whatever it is, whatever challenge that you're going through in life is for the highest good. I don't, to be honest to you, Anthony, I don't think I would have found and appreciated my husband, Mike, now had I not gone through divorce. I
mm,
had to get burned. I had to really learn, get a rude awakening about where I have emotional wounds from my childhood. My dad
mm,
left when I was 9. And so I have a lot of abandonment issues and trust issues. And so I have to be able to continuously notice, am I dealing with the person in front of me? Or is the person in front of me triggering a memory from my childhood called I'm unworthy, I can't trust, people will leave me? We got to get responsible about our own behavior and how we react to other people. Yes, people will trigger us, but we allow people to trigger us.
mm.
So again, back to forgiveness. We have to have compassion and forgiveness for ourselves. Otherwise, we're going to just keep beating ourselves up, and we're never going to be fully free of our past. And we're never going to be fully happy because we're always looking for all the reasons why we can't have what we want in life.
Mm. Thank you for that. You touched Mishka's heart. She's feeling weepy right now. Thank you for sharing that. We appreciate that. And we also have some other people that are watching from all over the world. We have Wise Nyaga from Nairobi, and she's
Yes.
thanking. Yeah, he's thanking you very much for everything that you're sharing. So we
Yeah.
really thank you, Jeanell. And this episode could stretch for ages. I wouldn't want us to go before addressing this one. Now, there are issues that I could forgive myself and forgive my partner, and there are real issues that can't go away, challenges and problems. Now, I'm going to use your example, and maybe you're going to tell us how you've been able to come with it this far and manage to still be smiling and still in a romantic relationship with your husband up to this point without a child for 17 years. I don't know from where I come from. If you are married and you haven't have a child for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, has a big issue. And I don't know where you are, whether it's still the same thing. How have you been able to face this 17 years still going on? And you aren't looking back. I mean, your husband and you are still in love. Tell us about that.
Yes, to be honest, Anthony, it has been very hard. It's been a very painful and long road.
Mm,
But like anything else in life, it is those dark places when you can be linked arms, holding hands, holding each other up when the other one is weak and being the strength for each other.
mm,
Really is all that matters. And, back to what I said in the beginning, I just have a very strong faith. And my mom would always say to me, Jeanell, whatever is meant for you, God will provide. If it's meant for you, He will give it to you. If it's not meant for you, then He won't. And so I've really just taken on an attitude of full acceptance. And the beautiful part is, if I had children, I don't know if I could give myself over to my business, to my clients, to my husband, the way that I do now, because then my attention would be split.
mm-hmm,
But right now, I get to focus on my health. I get to focus on my clients. I get to focus on this dream I have impacting 10 million lives before
mm,
I die and ending generational trauma. I get to focus on that. And so, I have nieces, I have nephews, and, I find joy in that. And I think really the key is, instead of focusing on what you don't have, on the negative, on the scarcity, on the lack, really focusing on the abundance, on the opportunity, really, and really the possibilities that not having children allows me. I get to travel, I get to sleep in, I get to play with my nieces, and when I'm tired, I give them back. I mean, I can look at it as a negative, or I can look at it as a positive. Now, the hard part is I'm Filipino, so of course, every single time I talk to my family, the question is, "Are you pregnant yet?" Now, I'm 46, so that window is closing. But I think just being in acceptance that this is just the life I have, and not wanting anything other than what God has given me, because it's perfect. It
mm,
really is. It really is. And yes, it's taken me a time to get to this point where we can
mm-hmm,
fully accept that, yeah, you know what? That's not this picture that we had of our life is not the future that we're living into. But you know what? We can adopt if we want,
yeah.
right? There are a lot of things we can do. And so I just give up and I surrender, and I really focus on trusting God with my life. Because I
Mm,
used to think I was in the passenger seat of my life. Or sorry, I used to think I was in the driver's seat of my life. And since I started my own business, I realized not only am I not in the passenger seat, I'm like in the back seat, or maybe I'm even in the trunk. Like
mhm.
I have I have very little control of what this is going to look like. So I just trust. I just pray that the people who need me find me.
Mhm.
I pray that I stay healthy so that I can continuously do the work that I'm so passionate about.
Wow, that's a good answer. So, looking at your relationships, whatever it is that you are at, you can always look at those things that you're able to change, those things that are your responsibility, and take an action towards that. And those that you can't, the point to ask God for help to enable you to keep on going, to give you the grace to endure, to accept the situations that the way they are is how they are meant to be, and keep on going. Look for the positives and continue living life in a positive direction. Appreciate whatever it is that you have, and yeah, that's how I get this.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a question here from Brian.
Yeah,
What advice do you
I was going to that. Answer that, please.
Brian, what advice can you give a single 25-year-old before getting into a relationship? Yeah, know your values, my friend. Know who you are. Because one of the things that happens is, especially when we're young, is we get into a relationship and we start to change for the other person. We try to be this person that we're not, and we start to lose ourselves. And a lot of the people I work with that are coming out of a marriage, that's what they're doing, is they're trying to find themselves again because they've lost themselves in overgiving and trying to be the compatible partner. So I would say is really get to a point where you know who you are, you know your values, and therefore when you go to find that right person, you know what you're looking for, you know what your non-negotiables are, and you're able to have hard conversations because it's not about pleasing the other person. It's about you finding what's going to work for you. And listen, even with all that, you're probably going to fall down and fail. You're probably going to, relationships aren't going to work out. But if you know, again, if you know who you are, you know your worth, you're going to look at those relationships and go, you know what? That was great. I learned a lot. And I'm so thankful I had that relationship. And now I can go on to the next relationship better and wiser
Mm,
rather than this broken person who's like, nobody loves me and I'm unworthy. And all the sad stories that we tell ourselves when we get dumped. Hello, that's me so many times. But we can rise from all of these, if you want to call it rejection, with grace and compassion, and just know that. And again, going back to trust, trusting that if it doesn't work out, it was never meant to work out. We try
mm,
to force life sometimes. We try to control it, and then we resist. It's like, oh, it shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't be going through this divorce. Well, maybe, but maybe that's just the way God had planned for you. That was just the way your life was supposed to go because there's a lesson that you're supposed to learn so that when the real person comes along that you're ready. And so I really try to take on an attitude of growth mindset. If you guys are interested, there's this really great book. It's called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. But she really talks about, having growth mindset is about always looking at possibility and not looking at everything as either a failure or a rejection or a judgment, but really just a sign, I guess, if you will call that, from the universe of what there is for you to do next to heal, to grow, and to move into the next phase of your life. So I hope
mm.
that answers your question, Brian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jeanell, for sharing that. And I would add to that, as much as we can never predict the future, it's naive to move into the future blindfolded. It's good always to look ahead and say, I'm going to do this, what is in my ability to prepare for tomorrow. I'm going to look at the things that we have in common to the person that I want to get into a relationship with. And if things are not aligning, then I would better know this before. So just not just about moving into that because I have that instinct, I have that, I'm infatuated with that girl or that boy. So it's important to use our head.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what the trick, right? The trick is to balance our fear with love. Because
Hmm.
yes, we want to go open-hearted into every relationship, and at the same time, we kind of want to be smart about it. We want to look for the signs, the flags, the red flags. You know the red flags?
Hmm.
Those red
Hmm.
flags, we need to really pay attention. When I look at my first marriage, the first red flag I saw was his parents. When I met
Mm.
his parents, they were not, they were not great people. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, they're like, I couldn't picture my family and his family in the same room.
Hmm.
And that should have been a sign for me. But of course, I was afraid. I was afraid of being alone. And so I just pushed that concern aside. But now that I look back at it, I knew that that was the moment where I should have stopped and said, you know what? I don't actually think this is going to work. But I was so desperate to get married. I was, I think, 25. And for me, 25 was old. It's like, I'm 25. I'm still not married. I need to get married.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's
Hmm.
a need to really be able to open our heart and show ourselves fully and vulnerably, at the same time being smart about it, being wise, listening to our intuition, asking the right questions, communicating our needs and our expectations, and then creating a future together, I think is really the key. And then lastly, really just looking at what parts of us do we need to heal, so that when we go into the relationship, when some, like for example, when we're having an argument, are you going to actually deal with the argument in the present moment, or are
Hmm.
you now going to be, you have some trauma from your childhood that is now being triggered, and so now you and I can't even have a conversation because now you're thinking about your mom or your dad who used to yell at you when you were a kid, and now you're numbing out and you actually, you're shutting down, you're shutting me down. Those are
Mm.
the things that we need to get really responsible for in order to have a really great relationship.
Yeah, thank you very much. And from your experience, maybe you can answer this other question that Brian has. Is religion an important aspect in a relationship?
That's a really great question, Brian. And the simple answer is it important to you? Is it important to her? If it is, then you need to talk about it. I think, especially when you have children, it's even more important to talk about it, because how are you going to raise your child? My sister and her husband are dealing with this right now because they're very different religions, and so it creates a little bit of um, upset and confusion and frustration because it's so different. And of course, the child is confused, right? And so
Hmm.
you need to know that if you plan to have a family. But again, if religion is not important to you and religion is not important to her, then it's not important. But if it's important to her but not important to you, well, now that's a conversation. I
Hmm.
hope that gives you your answer, Brian.
Oh, now this is going back to the values that you need to check on before you
Yeah.
jump in. So you check on value,
Yeah.
know what is valuable to you or to her, or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
I know my values really strongly. And sometimes when I forget who I am, I got to remind myself. Or when I'm really not happy, like I'm feeling really frustrated and I'm stressed, I
Mm-hmm.
go, why do I feel that way? Then I really check to see, am I living my values? And my values, just so you guys know, is family, faith, freedom, fun, and flow. So
Mm.
as long as my life is in alignment with those five values, I am happy. When I'm not in alignment, whether I'm working too much or I don't feel like I have the freedom to be creative or be myself, I'm not a happy person. But that's how I know my values are my values, because anytime one of those five are out, there's something that happens within inside of me. And so I think we need to each get really clear about what those core values are, so that when someone comes into our life and comes in with their set of values, you can really look to see, are we aligned or not? I met a couple, they're a very young couple in the early 20s, and they were looking to get divorced. And she's a party girl, she drinks, she smokes. He's a very conservative man. And he said, I will divorce my wife if I ever see her drink. But he
Mm.
drinks, but she's not allowed to drink. And so, and
Interesting.
she says, but I don't want to change. Like, this is who I am. I like to party. I like to go out with my friends. And so it's, their values are not aligned. She wants to have fun. He wants her to stay home and be the good little wife. And she's like, but that's not who I am. It's really important.
Wow, wow, wow. This is interesting. And thank you, Jeanell. We have actually extended our time for the episode, but
Yeah.
it's not because it has been very interesting. Our viewers and listeners have been very engaged. We really want to thank each and every one of you who's been here and contributed to this episode. Nemi, thank you for listening and for appreciating us. Brian, we thank you. We thank you, Mishka. We thank you, Wise Nyaga. We thank you, every other person who could be listening or watching without mentioning anything. Because we
Mhm.
see we have quite a number of viewers and listeners. Thank you very much for taking your time here. And I know once we are through with this episode, some of you could be interested in following up with Jeanell. How can they do that, Jeanell, please?
Yes. Well, the best place to find me is either on Facebook or my website is www.saveourmarriage.ca. I have a few spots if anyone's interested in private sessions, but I actually have a free event and it's going to be around forgiveness and really the power. Because you know what? We don't understand. I don't think most of us understand. Not, I don't think, I know that most of us do not understand what forgiveness is.
Hmm.
We've been taught that it's forgetting or pretending it didn't happen, or it's about somebody else saying apologizing. That's actually not what it is. And so I'm doing a free event the week of October 22nd. So if you'd like to stay in touch and be part of that event, go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll see the announcements come out, and it'll be starting on October 25th will be the event start. So check that out if that's something that you really want to work on for yourself.
You don't want to miss this. Please hop on to www.saveourmarriage.ca. And that is going to, from my experience, is going to direct you to the personal website of Jeanell. So just in case you find yourself in Jeanell's page, that's how it's going to do. And yeah, we can't thank you enough for Jeanell for sharing with us all that you've done today with us. We thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. My pleasures. It was great. Thank you for having me. And I'm just going to put my Facebook. That is my personal, but I also have a business page. I think it's Wing Woman, Wing Woman Coaching, Wing Woman Hero. I can't even remember. But you can find me on Facebook just under that link there. Again, go to my website. That's also a great place to connect with me over email or by phone.
Yeah, so the link to her Facebook has been shared there. You can always connect with her. And yeah, once again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being with me today.
Yeah, and just before you go, as usual here at Now Tell Us, we like you to leave us with some of the words, your favorite words that you never want us to forget, or something that we can always, or we should always remember. Which are they?
Mm, everything you want. I have two things to say. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Everything, everything. And this has been my motto for the last 20 years. And I have created a life of my dreams, a partner, a marriage of my dreams, a business of my dreams. But you have to deal with all of your fear. And then the second thing is pain and suffering only exist when you resist what is so. So when you have it like, life shouldn't be this way, I shouldn't be this way, my partner shouldn't be this way, the world, the government, my money, everything shouldn't be this way, that is where the pain and suffering begin. But when we can really allow and accept, like, this is my body, this is my finances, this is my marriage, this is the world, that is the place when we can really start to experience peace. Because, yes, peace is acceptance. But the hard part that people cannot wrap their head around and why they have such a hard time finding peace is because peace truly is letting go that anything is wrong. That's a hard one
It's a hard one.
because
It's a
it's so
hard
easy
one.
to go, there's so much wrong. But if you can just get everything's actually pretty perfect. And if you can just be present to this moment, to what you have, to be grateful, and to realize that, man, there are so many other people in this world that have it way worse than I do. And if I can bring love and compassion and blessings to the world, that will come back tenfold.
Wow. 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 Jeanell, I have nothing to add to this. Thank you very much once again. We really appreciate you coming to Now Tell Us today.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, this has been a long episode of Now Tell Us. I have been your host, Anthony Muirore. I thank Jeanell. I thank all our guests, our listeners, our audience. And yeah, that's about it for today. And me being your host today, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest Jeanell Greene, we are saying, yeah, let love reign. Mm, yeah. Until next time, it's bye for now. Bye.